Hi guys, welcome to the Virtual Marriage Enrichment Group. We are really glad you've joined us tonight. This is Priscilla Hunt, Executive Director for Better Marriages, and I want to share with you what you can expect tonight. Our facilitators will present a teaching segment on stress. That's a very timely topic, I think you would agree. And then a leader couple will dialogue about how the topic impacts their relationship. Then as a couple, we will invite you to turn knee to knee and have a private dialogue about how the topic impacts your relationship. And following that brief exercise, you'll be invited to share any insights. If you choose, you can share insights or comments with the group. All sharing is voluntary, so that is completely up to you if you want to do that. If you are brave and want to share your own couple dialogue in front of the group, you're welcome to do that as well. We know from experiencing these groups before that we really learn from listening to other couples and how they handle certain situations. But everything tonight is confidential, and again, sharing is completely voluntary. We will record tonight's marriage enrichment group so that others can benefit from the replay. With that recording, it's simply an audio replay and the slides. So again, we won't out you in any way. We'll keep you confidential. All the phone lines have been muted, and that really helps us with the sound quality. It cuts out a lot of background noises. And we're not hearing dogs barking and babies crying and chairs squeaking and those kinds of things. So I will keep you muted, and near the end, when we invite you to join in the conversation, I will unmute you and explain how you can enter into the conversation at that point. Well, let's get started. I want to introduce you to Michael and Suanne Yarbrough. They are our facilitators for the evening. Michael and Suanne are a certified trainer couple with Better Marriages. They've led numerous training events, and they have led numerous marriage enrichment groups, including this virtual marriage enrichment group. We're in really good hands. Later, we're going to hear from the Grahams, and they are going to share a dialogue with us about how stress impacts their relationship. That's Larry and Catherine Graham, who live in Kansas City. But let's get started. Michael and Suanne, take it away.
Thank you, Priscilla.
Good evening, everybody.
Hi.
Hi, we're glad to be here, and we're glad you're here as well.
And I'm glad we're talking about this topic.
Oh, my goodness. We have been through the nation has been through a very stressful time and continues to be yesterday and today. And that, of course, is only a little bit of a reflection of one kind of stress. And what an appropriate topic for us to be dealing with this evening. Didn't really expect that we would be experiencing the external stresses of our times when we originally set it up for this to be our topic tonight. So what a surprise, but how timely that is.
Yeah. Okay. These are the objectives we work with when we do marriage enrichment groups. To take an honest look at our marriage as it is now and stressing the positive.
There's that word.
Yeah, and to assess our potential for marital growth, where we want to be, and to gain insights, learn new skills, and acquire new tools for future growth. So we're always looking for growth, we're always looking to get better, and we're always stressing the positive.
We think that if we will use some ground rules for both our private dialogues as well as whatever we do in public, that will help us to have a more effective experience together. And we want to suggest these to all of us tonight and ask you to abide by them, and we will as well. We will share our own experiences. We'll try to stay away from the opinions of others or theories that we've read somewhere. Tonight also our emphasis is on positive experiences, not the negative ones, because this is, after all, enrichment, and we want to help our relationship to grow in some very positive, very good and healthy ways. Number 3, there is not any confrontation. We support and affirm each other. We're trying to, again, use this as a time of affirming where we are in a relationship, but also the contributions that each of us makes to this relationship to make it healthy and happy. As Priscilla has said, this participation is voluntary. We do believe that the more each of us is willing to share and disclose of ourselves and our own relationship, we gain from that experience, but we're not going to put anybody on a hot spot or a hot seat and coerce you in any way if you want to volunteer something. We also don't analyze, diagnose, or give advice. So there will be time later for comments or some reflective dialogue. But we know that you're an expert on your own marital relationship. We're experts on ours, and we would not have any kind of ego to think that we could analyze yours or diagnose yours, and we'll try to avoid giving any kind of advice about what you should do or not do in your relationship.
And here's a little bit about stress. There are three basic sources of stress: environment, the life changes, our body, aging, illness, or poor health, and our thoughts and interpretations. Momentary stress reactions do not typically hurt people, but living day after day on an upwardly moving stress curve leads to both emotional and physical problems. So when the stress is continuous, then it adds up and affects us in bigger ways. Common chronic stress reaction symptoms include hypertension, headaches, ulcers, colitis, arthritis, asthma, cardiac arrhythmias, sexual problems, muscle tension, and circulatory issues. In other words, we don't want to have continuous stress in our lives or we're going to be really sick.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay.
It's pretty unhealthy.
Yeah.
And I think we're not always aware of how it'll impact us until it's too late.
Yeah.
That's a lot of impact.
Mm-hmm.
Stress is an everyday fact of life. You can't avoid it. It's going to happen. Stress also is any change that you have to adjust to. Sometimes that's negative, but it can also be even positive things. Stress can have both good and bad consequences for anyone. We've already listed a number of the negative consequences. One positive effect is that stress can be a motivator for some change. Helps alert us to something that we need to adjust perhaps in our life or our relationship. Your stress response is a part of your evolutionary biological survival kit. We're wired that way. It's a way that we react to stress, whether as it impacts us to help us, I guess really help us to survive, help us to get out of those really, really difficult or dangerous situations.
Mm-hmm. Common causes of stress in marriage. Here's a good list. Money, children can always do it, daily stress, busy schedules, poor communication and conflict resolution skills, lack of playtime, lack of shared family responsibilities, and bad habits.
And we might want to add one, Yarbrough, and list elections as well.
Elections. Okay.
Yeah. I have to say, at least for me, the stress is personal, but it certainly can come out in impacting our relationship and how we interact with each other on a given day, certainly. There are some important coping strategies that we can use for stress, and we'd like to highlight 4 of those. We need to remember and just remind ourselves that any change is stressful. We need to just be alert to that. Number 2, developing a good communication system with active listening can be a coping strategy and is helpful. Number 3, believe in yourself and support each other is a coping strategy. And the 4th one is to take extra care of yourself and your loved ones in times of major change. This morning, I also wanted to add another one that was by a medical doctor on the news this morning, who reminded us that exercise, physical exercise, is another stress coping strategy. And I'm thinking to myself right now that tomorrow I'm heading for the gym.
Okay. Our couple dialogue is going to be with Catherine and Larry Graham. Take it away, Graham.
Thank you, Suanne and Michael. That's such good information. First of all, I do want to apologize. We both have colds, and so if excuse me, if we get a little croaky or coughy, we apologize in advance. That's a very likely possibility. As you all said, this is such a timely topic. I'm sure we're all feeling this today, even though elections are only every 4 years on the presidential level. This one has been particularly stressful, I think, for all of us, just because of the tension and that kind of thing. So there is a heightened awareness of stress for me today, I think, in particular. But it's been good to kind of think about this, think about on your causes of stress. Some of these are not really issues for us, but I think our major issues, for me, a major issue is the poor communication and conflict resolution, also including lack of playtime and just basically some bad habits that we've developed for dealing with stress over the course of our marriage. In thinking about this, I thought, what has made me stressed, I think I feel the highest level of stress when I feel unprepared, when I'm taken off guard. And Larry, I know that's something I really like to have a plan, and a plan of action, and I like to, as they say, plan your work and work your plan. And part of the irony of stress is that sometimes you just can't plan for it, but I feel the more prepared I can be in everyday things, the more prepared I am to handle that which is out of the ordinary. And so being the list maker that I am, it's really helpful for me to have the opportunity to try to plan ahead and strategize and organize my day and my life as much as possible.
Well, and going with that, for what generally is stressing us at this point in our lives, we're both caregivers for aging parents, and dealing with those issues and family issues related to that. So, that's something that we can simply, like you say, that's something I think we can plan for as much as anything else. We do know what a lot of our primary issues may be, but it is something that we could have a course of action for, I think. So I think I can help you with that. I mean, that's not so much an issue for me, the planning, as far as stress, but I know it is for you. And I think we can come up with a means of, I don't know, the planning, but at least be able to know how you want to, what I can do to help you react or resolve the stress issue to some extent. It's like, for me, you're being there to help me separate the emotional reaction from my rational wanting to deal with it rationally, and I'm reacting to it emotionally when my father does something crazy.
Yeah.
You can stand back and you can see that, and you can say, you can tell me that's what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
I can't see it. I'm too close to it. It's my dad. He's always taking care of me. It's hard for me to do it the other way around.
Right.
And you have the same issue with your mom.
Right.
And I can do the same thing with you, but I can't do it for myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to know we can do that even if we have to write it down, would help. But that, again, that to me, I don't need it written down because I know you can do it, and you do it, which is a great help to me. But still, but I can see, that there's some of this other stuff that you're talking about is.
Well, and I think the key for me is as one of the points said, communication. If we can talk about it, it's. I don't know that easy is not the right word, but it's natural. Maybe the bad habit for us is to both withdraw and keep it inside, and
deal with it ourselves.
To name it is to claim it, so to speak. And if we can talk about it, if we can say, this is really tough, not to, and it's the difficulty for me is how do we talk about it? How do I get your support without problem solving? Because you're great at solving problems, but these are problems that sometimes we just don't have a solution for.
Right.
It's just navigating these rough waters. And how do we navigate these waters? I think some of it is being able to communicate with each other in a way that names it. It just takes me sometimes to talk it out. I know sometimes I tend to talk it over ad nauseum, but that's how I have to process it.
Right.
I have to just keep going over it, and it's helpful for you to listen and reflect to me
without problem solving.
Yeah,
which I tend to do because that's what I've done.
Well,
all
and
my life.
It's understandable because what I'm naming is a problem for me, and you want to fix it,
Yeah.
and I appreciate you wanting to fix it.
But that's not what you need.
Well, it doesn't. There's no fixing.
No,
that's
I understand,
and that's stressful.
Sure, it adds to the stress instead of taking away from it. And what I'm trying to do is help you with your stress. So I know that. Sometimes you may need to thump me in the forehead to remind me that I'm going off on problem solving, and I know better. Again, it's an emotional response sometimes. But yeah.
Well, after I've rehearsed it for the 14th time, you kind of want to bring it to a close. I do understand that.
Yeah.
But I can appreciate your need to try to bring some closure to it, but I also feel I have a need to process.
Right.
And
right.
I think that's a greater need for me, perhaps. I don't know. I feel more verbal about my stress than I hear you being, which, I know your situation with your parents is stressful for you, but I would appreciate it if you could be more forthcoming with how you're feeling about that. As you said, the emotional part of it is hard to name and to process because of the tendency to want to problem solve.
Right. And I think part of my problem there is I never know what's going to trigger it. I can be there one time and it's no issue, and I can go to the next time and it's a monstrous issue.
Yeah. And that's probably part of what I'm getting at. It's helpful for me to be prepared as much as I can to have a plan and of course you can logically think, well, this is how I'm going to deal with it when you're up to your elbows in alligators, as they say.
Yeah.
It's hard to forget it's easy to forget your imperative was to drain the swamp.
Right.
And that's how it feels sometimes. We get up to our elbows in alligators, and we thought, what are we doing here? We're struggling for our lives. And sometimes it feels pretty urgent like that.
Yeah, correct.
And that's stress.
Yeah, So, to go back to your plan, what do you envision, or what can I do to help you plan? Say that.
Well, when we've worked on different issues, it feels like it keeps coming up for us a goal to sit down on a regular basis and plan out our week, plan out what we're doing, something even as simple as meal planning, daily planning, what's going on today.
Mm-hmm.
It just helps to have that framework, to have a framework for my day, especially now that we're both retired. we don't have work as a framework. We don't schedule our lives around our work. And, retirement's wonderful. It's wonderful to have all this time, but it's also so free-floating that sometimes there's some anxiety and stress for me related to, what am I doing with my life now?
Well,
so even just as simple as planning out our day-to-day activities, our day-to-day schedule, and then, having that in place, and then I think that would help deal with the other emotional things as they come up. Like dealing with my mother when I talk to her on the phone and I have no idea what she's talking about, just to be able to process.
She gets mean, yeah.
Yeah, just process that a little. And I'm guessing with your parents that might be the same situation.
Could be, yeah. Could be. Although I'm not as goal-oriented as you are, so I don't. Where am I going with my life from here,
Yeah.
But I know that is something to do, and it's so simple to do, to schedule and, sit down and work out what we're going to do this week, or at least not everything, but have a plan for, I'm going to the movie, or I'm going to a theater, I'm going to do this, or, just a few odds and ends through the week, so we kind of got a ballpark scheme.
Right, and I think that would help with, the lack of playtime. That's something, if we have that as part of our routine, part of our schedule, so to speak.
Well, it's like we were talking about when we were thinking about this. Here we've been on a major trip, and we were stressed before we left, majorly stressed before we left. 2 days into the trip, we were just, almost giddy with relaxation. Did 6 weeks of being gone without a problem, and then we come back, and then boom, we're right back into stress.
Yeah.
So that playtime is definitely a stress reducer for us.
Yeah.
That trip showed that so well.
And it would be nice if we could work that into our lives, that we don't have to take 6 weeks away to do that.
Well,
that we could do that,
yeah,
regularly, almost on a daily basis, just some relaxation
we'll do
time.
a happy hour once in a while or something.
Right.
Yeah, that type of thing. Right.
But it sounds like more about my needs. What about your needs? What can I do to support you when you're feeling stressed with your folks?
Like I say, you do it automatically, I think, and it's been a big help to me in the fact that you are so good about helping me understand what I'm reacting to emotionally versus rationally, and where I'm trying to make it rational when I should be emotional.
Okay.
It's that type of thing.
So there again, just good communication.
Just good communication, and sometimes just to, think about what you're doing. Your dad doesn't know what he's saying. He doesn't mean what he says because he's not rationally thinking.
Right.
And you're trying to make him think rationally, and he does not have that ability.
Yeah.
And I know that, but I still think of him as being that great mind that he always was.
Right.
And if I make this a logical pattern, he'll figure it out.
Right.
And it ain't happening.
Yeah.
It's tough, but and I know better. But when you're there dealing with it, you don't go there.
Yeah, you're not relating from your head, you're relating from your heart.
Right.
Yeah, I understand that with my mother, too.
Right. But
So,
you're good at saying, step back, you know better.
Yeah.
And that helps. That really does.
Good.
Because then I'm not stressed about what am I doing wrong that he can't figure this out. It's the disease. It is not him.
Right.
So
well,
that helps.
There again, I think something that would be helpful for us is to just, I don't know, I hesitate to say schedule in, but to plan to have regular times to just sit down and talk about how's it going right now.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Rather than having it erupt.
Right.
Out of, frustration, but
right.
To cut it off before it gets to that point, perhaps, or process it before it gets to that point.
Yeah. So well, let's plan on try to schedule better and communicate more.
Okay. I think that's about 10 minutes, so and he's losing his voice, so we better turn it back over to you all.
Good timing.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Fran.
Thanks.
What did you hear that connected with us, the way you perceive?
What it reminds me of, communication is very important. I don't like to be surprised about anything, and that causes stress. And also, it made me think about our working harder since this summer at Texas Conference on daily sharing time. Mm-hmm. And the question being, what are your intentions? Or what are your plans tomorrow? What's your intentions tomorrow? What's going on with you? What's on the schedule? And that's really made a difference because I know what to expect. At least surprises come up, but I know what your intentions are, and you know what mine are, and that's really helped a lot.
Well, I really connected with the Grahams talking about more game playing, playfulness. I was thinking about us. Like last night, we both dealt with the stress our own ways. You went down in the basement and sewed, quilted. Mm-hmm. I went to a movie.
Yeah.
But that's not interaction. That's not doing something together. Right. And even when we play games, we have two tablets with different games on them, and we sit side by side or in the same room, and you play your games on your tablet, and I play on mine. But that's not interacting. So that doesn't connect. It may relieve some personal stress, but it's not the same as when we play a game together, a game for two. So that was something for me to think about, definitely. Anything else you connected with them and what you heard them say?
Well, there were a lot of things, but I think some of it we will get to with the exercise too. Okay. With the couple exercise that's next.
All right. We're going to give you an exercise, and then we'll also remind you of the guidelines so that it'll help make this a more effective exercise. Soothing your partner is of enormous importance in your relationship. You and your partner benefit as you both become associated with the feelings of calm and relaxation rather than the trigger of stress. So, in order to get at that, we ask you to answer the below questions individually, and then we'll give you time to share those also with your partner. So to think through these for yourself, and then do some sharing knee to knee after we get silent in a minute. First of all, answer this question for yourself. What makes me feel stressed? Secondly, you want to do them one at a time? Yeah. Let me read through the questions and then we'll come back to them, okay? Mm-hmm. Secondly, what does stress manifest in our relationship? How does stress manifest in our relationship? Number 3, what can I do to soothe you? Number 4, what can you do to soothe me? Number 5, what signals can we develop together for letting the other know that when we feel stressed? All right, let's go back to the first one. What makes you feel stressed?
Most of the time what makes me feel stressed is either being really, really exhausted, but mostly it's when I have a whole lot of things to do and I'm too tired to do them all. Like I'm looking at a huge to-do list.
I get the list done?
Right.
The pressure of that?
Yes.
Self-pressure?
Yes.
Okay.
Self-pressure.
All right.
What makes you feel stressed?
Feeling out of control. Something that I can't change or impact. Not like the politics is one example, but times being lost in the car would be one. When we're trying to find a place we've never been before would be an example. So those kinds of things where I'm feeling out of control and I have no control over the situation. And then the second one I came up with was really fatigue. a tiredness. When I'm tired, little things stress me that normally wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
So the impact is the fatigue.
Okay.
All right. How does that stress manifest in our relationship? Let me answer that first.
Well, for me, usually being short with you, having every little thing bother me, and lashing out because you're the one that's here.
Gee, ditto. That's exactly what I was going to say. Almost word for word. It's those times when little irritants come up that normally might not even bother me, but when I'm stressed, they do. Mm-hmm. And I do snap in those times, or chastise or something. Mm-hmm. Number 3, what can I do to soothe you?
Well, the biggest thing that helps me is for you to just stop and us talk. Or just say something like, it seems like you're really stressed, what's going on? Or something like that. Boy, that really...
So acknowledging...
Yeah, acknowledging what you see.
Feelings. So some reflective listening.
Yeah.
Perception checking. Well, I think you seem like you might be stressed right now. Mm-hmm. Okay. So that active listening.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
That's really the biggest thing. Physical touch helps too, but boy, when when we just stop and talk about it, it's the biggest solution.
Okay, that's one of mine.
Yeah.
I also have some others. Physical touch is one. And that, and to physical touch to the extreme of even lovemaking is one that soothes me a lot. But just also on a lighter side, TLC, because I experience tender loving care from you as an affirmation of me, and that's a soother somehow. Whether it's physical touch, whether it's just the little ways that you care for me sometimes are wonderful. Another one that you did on Monday, I really appreciated, is that you really enabled me to go to the rec center and to work out by staying home because we had a UPS shipment coming to the house, and you said, no, why don't you go? And to me, that was very helpful for me physically to be able to go and work out. But you made that happen because it would have been just as easy for me to stay home and wait for the delivery, and you go and do it. So I appreciate that very, very much. Mm-hmm. But those are some examples, I think, the ways that you help to soothe me.
Okay.
The next one is, what can you do to soothe me? I think I just answered that for myself.
So I heard you saying physical touch, TLC, and encouraging you to exercise.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think I heard you say, especially reflective listening, stopping and acknowledging those feelings. Ask you if you're feeling stressed right now, and maybe talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
What's causing that in you?
Okay.
All right. Number 5, what signals can we develop together for letting the other know when we're feeling stressed? Wow, that's a harder one.
That's really hard because when I'm in the middle of it, I don't. If we could stop and just acknowledge it and talk about it, it'd be the best thing for me. But I don't know what signals we can develop.
Well, what comes to my mind is just self-disclosure.
Okay.
Say, I'm feeling stressed right now.
Okay.
Or I'm discouraged, or something, and to name the feeling. But that puts it on myself to do that. And usually, as you've just said, that's difficult because in the moment, I'm not usually that tuned in to what's going on.
Maybe the signal can be asking the other one how they're feeling.
Yeah. Are you feeling stressed right now?
Yeah.
Are you upset about something?
That's a good idea.
Okay. So it really puts the burden on both of us.
Right.
And we want to recognize it in the other and to recognize it in ourselves. And however, to be able to communicate that to the other and use that as our signal.
That's a good one.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
We're going to invite you to do this with each other, but before we do it, I just want to remind you of some ground rules that will help you do this more effectively. I want to remind you that when you share your own experience rather than some opinions or theories. Try to emphasize, if you can, the positive experiences rather than negative ones, so that you can grow from this sharing. Be aware that there is no confrontation, that we're going to support and affirm each other through this exercise. Share what you're willing to share, but the more you're willing to share with your partner, I think the more effective this exercise will be. And try to avoid, if you can, analyzing, diagnosing, giving advice. So I would encourage you to do it. Go back right now and get us back on track. Sorry. We're doing this a little differently. All right, here's the exercise again. Invite you to take a few moments to do this. How do you soothe each other? So number one, what makes you feel stressed or me feel stressed? Number two, how does stress manifest in our relationship? Number three, what can I do to soothe you? Number four, what can you do to soothe me? Number five, what signals can we develop together for letting the other know when we feel stressed? Okay, Priscilla, would you like to be a timekeeper and kind of guide us through this process, please?
And give us about 10 minutes.
I'd be happy to. Yeah, we'll give you about 10 minutes for the exercise, and I'll give you a 2-minute warning after about 8 minutes so you can wrap up your dialogue.
Thanks.
Okay, if you will, take about 2 more minutes to wrap up your dialogue. Okay, and we are back. Hope you had a good conversation. I wonder if anyone would like to share with the group either a new insight or a thought that you think might be helpful for others, if you share that from your own perspective, or perhaps a conversation, a dialogue with your partner for the whole group. I have unmuted everyone and have opened up the lines, so you are free to jump in and share. I will tell you that if you do not want to share, you can mute your own line by pressing *6. So that's *6 to mute yourself. And if you are on the webcast, you will see a comment box. And if you would like to type something into the comment box, a comment, a question, a thought, feel free to do that. I will read that and share it with the group as appropriate. Also, if you're on the webcast, if you would, just go on and put something in that box. Let me know where you're from. We'd love to know where our folks are coming from who join us on this virtual MEG. But yeah, at this time, if anyone would like to share something with the group, now's your time. And Greg is not here with me tonight, but we had a great dialogue this morning, and some of the things that we talked about were so helpful, and it was actually Yarbrough's before I looked at the exercise, but it was instinctive to have that conversation this morning because we were both feeling very stressed. And, one of the things we talked about was, you mentioned taking extra care of yourself and your loved ones in times of major change. And certainly we are in a time of major change. And the thing we talked about was needing to be very gentle with each other and needing to, go just take that extra step of thinking before we speak, and myself especially being more gentle and less reactive, and just being gentler and calmer with each other. And we talked about our 40 years of marriage and our 40 years of resilience and faith, and we draw on those as strengths during times of major change. We talked about engaging in life-affirming activities, and we share some of those together, and some of those are different. You know, I love walking. I love being out in the sunshine or in the wind or in the rain or whatever it is. Just being outside gives me life. Meditating, turning off the news. Tonight, in fact, we've just been glued to it for days, and so tonight we're going to watch a movie together, romantic comedy, and so whatever it is that we find life affirming rather than depressing and stressful and anxiety provoking. And then we also talked about the fact that when I'm stressed, I've gotten really spoiled being married to Greg, honestly, in lots of ways. But one of the ways is he's such a great sounding board for me, and he always listens so well and lets me problem solve out loud and just express my anxiety or my fears or whatever it is. And one of the things that I realized is that even though he is great at that and that is helpful, I also want to take responsibility to manage my stress and anxiety, so that talking with him is not my only outlet for dealing with that, but stepping up and doing those things that I know to do that help me deal with my stress. And that takes a little bit of pressure off of him. So what a great virtual MEG tonight, and a great exercise for a great day. So thank you all for that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, we planned these topics a year ahead, so it's really interesting that it came up. So, anybody else have any comments or questions?
Or thoughts? Really.
Or thoughts?
Yeah, and if you're on the webcast, you can make a comment in that box. And one comment I would love for you to make is let me know where you're logging in from. I love knowing where our people are coming from. Okay, so I just got a message that the audio had stopped. Let me look and see what's going on with that. If someone else on the webcast cannot hear us, will you type that for me in your comment box? And Grams, are you all able to hear?
We have you on our telephone, so we can hear you, yes.
Okay, all righty. Okay, well, I don't see any other comments, Yarbrough, so if y'all want to take it back, feel free to do that.
Sure.
All right, thank you, Priscilla, for your help.
Here's a list of the essentials for a happy marriage. We call them the 4 C's: caring, commitment, and especially commitment to your marriage, communication, and creative use of conflict. So we're always keeping those at the forefront when we're working on marriage enrichment.
That's just a reminder.
Yeah.
In December, we'll have our last virtual MEG with the Wednesday night group, and we wanted to share that with you. The topic will be sexuality, our sexual relationship, and in January there'll be new topics to be announced, I guess, at that point, with perhaps some new leaders.
Mm-hmm. And here's an exercise to do before our next meeting on stress. Referring back to the soothing each other exercise we just did, review the signals you've developed to let each other know when you're feeling stressed. Recall the actions you each wanted to soothe you, those things that you listed that helped, and use these each time one of you is feeling stressed. Review how this is working and make any changes. So it's like a review of what you've decided to do to help each other and soothe each other through the stress.
Priscilla, would you like to say something about the other Better Marriages resources that help support a healthy marriage?
You know I would. Thank
Okay.
you. We have a free mobile app that's available in your app store. It's available for Android and iPhone, and you can keep up with articles, tips, exercises, great things like that. On the app, we also have similar things and more on our website, bettermarriages.org. And on our homepage, you can do a couple of things. One is you can subscribe to our newsletter, and another one is you can join Better Marriages, become a member, and what that involves is you have more benefits than the general public. You get access to even more tips and exercises and articles and videos and audios. And I invite you to do that. You can use the coupon code EVENT, E-V-E-N-T, EVENT, and you can join for half price. And we'd like for you to do that on our homepage, bettermarriages.org. Also, the recordings of all of our virtual MEGs are available, again, on our homepage. And we ask you to share that on your social media and by email to your friends and family. You can look through that list of topics, and when it's convenient for you, you can sit in front of your fireplace with a cup of tea or on your patio with a glass of wine or whatever suits you and listen to one of the recordings of a topic that you are interested in. Invite you to do that. You'll find those from our homepage if you click on Marriage Enrichment Groups. You'll see where that is. And we hope that you will engage with us. Of course, we are on social media, and Facebook.com Better Marriages, Twitter.com Better Marriages, YouTube.com Better Marriages. You hear the theme. So we'd love to connect with you, and we're really pleased that you are with us tonight.
Thank you, Priscilla. Just a reminder, our next virtual marriage enrichment group will be Wednesday, December 14th. 7 p.m. Mountain Time. Topic is sexuality. And watch for your inbox for the details for how you can log on and be a part of that group in December.
Thank you, everybody.
I do have one comment before we jump off the line that came through on the webcast. A couple of them. One said, thank you very much for leading this event. Another one said, thank you for doing these web groups. It is so helpful to hear other couples work through communication on important topics. We just bought our first house, and I started a new job, so stress is a given. But talking about it isn't. So thank you for reminding me of so many important aspects of communication and stress management in my marriage. I needed this tonight. Thank you. Awesome.
Good.
Yeah, awesome. He's right.
Yeah.
We want to thank the Grahams, Catherine and Larry, for letting us listen in as they reflected on stress in their own marriage relationship. We thanks to Priscilla for being here to host the group meeting tonight, and we appreciate all of those of you who have in some way been a part of this evening.
Thanks, everybody.
We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.